Welcome back into the Pig Trail Show. Another week, another Hog Hoops report with Kevin McPherson. And Kevin, not a lot of fun stuff to talk about this week. Arkansas gets it done early in the week against Texas A&M. There's some talk. Maybe this team's turning a corner. And then it's not an overstatement. It all falls apart against South Carolina. The Gamecocks come into Bud Walton Arena. The second time in 3 home games, Arkansas beat from start to finish. What was really an ugly game all the way through. Kevin, lethargic on offense, lethargic on defense. Not a lot of positives to take from this one.
Well, you say lethargic, and that's I think that's somewhat of an apt description. I see a team. I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, despite the win against A&M early in the week. I mean, you'll take that as a positive, but I'm seeing a lack of buy-in up and down this roster, lack of effort. And when Arkansas has had struggles in previous seasons under Eric Musselman and get this time of year, early league start to league play, when they get things turned around, one thing you could always say about the bad stretches where they played with effort, they played hard. They were just misfiring. There was some dysfunctionality because of this or this. And then they get the ship righted and start winning in spectacular fashion. This team, to me, I'm not seeing a team that's consistently playing hard and expressing a lot of effort on the court. The body language, the lack of just simple things that are not a matter of ineptness or lack of talent, but just effort. And when you see that almost contagious throughout the roster, and whoever he puts in the game, you're seeing complete breakdowns on both sides of the ball, inside and out. And that's what we saw against South Carolina. You lethargic, that's fair, but I think it starts with buying and effort, and that's not been a problem with Eric Musselman coach teams in the previous 4 seasons, regardless of these swoons to start SEC play. Because one thing I remember from press conferences, him saying, "Look, we played hard. We're just not doing this right. We've got that." He's talking about in post-game press conferences now lack of effort. He's talking about effort not being there. So I think that's what makes this more damaging when you look ahead. When you look ahead, because this Arkansas team had a bad November, not a great December, even though the win-loss record was fine, you could still see a lot of these issues being problematic. And Arkansas not being able to win games comfortably or put teams away. And now in SEC play, you mentioned it. They've lost 2 out of 3 at home where they were just bad. All 4 SEC losses, by the way, 1 and 4, all 4 by double-digit margins. And we'll talk about building a 20-point lead a couple of times in the first half against A&M, and then you're trailing with 6 seconds to go, and so you find a way to win. That was big. But I think we see problems on both sides of the ball. We see Arkansas's offense one-dimensional. It's really a dribble drive. Somebody go play hero ball for me. It's been Tremont Mark. He's been an exceptional scorer. Just yesterday, he got a slow start. South Carolina's beating Arkansas inside and out. 20 assists on 28 made field goals for the Gamecocks. Just systematically they weren't hunting for shots. Their best player, Michi Johnson, wasn't searching for his 17 points per game. He only took 7 shots. Arkansas did a fairly good job on him. He moved the ball. And Arkansas was beaten resoundingly, inside and out, great ball movement, and then you're going up against a Swiss cheese defense. Eventually, in your possession, you're going to find an easy score more often than that, and that's what happened for South Carolina. On the other end, everything's so difficult because Arkansas doesn't have a true lead guard. Arkansas doesn't put up a lot of resistance on either end of the court inside, and you see that play out. And even though Arkansas won some hustle stats yesterday for once, the offense was so bad relative to South Carolina's really good offense, and then conversely, bad defense against good defense. So some of those other extra stuff really didn't help. And, that explains a 13-point loss. Arkansas trailed by double digits most of the game. Arkansas never had a lead in this game. It was never tied. So you're on your home court. And I think the only ray of shining light is it's still, even now at 1 and 4 in league play, 10 and 8 overall, it's still too soon to say, put a fork in them, they're done. There's still enough basketball left. There's still plenty of quad 1 win opportunities coming up, including at Ole Miss on Wednesday. And then you've got Kentucky and College game day. Man, they picked a doozy of a season to have their first appearance at Bud Walton Arena in Fayetteville, didn't they? But it could be the kind of energy and the kind of spark. You just never know, because Arkansas has proven it's beaten Duke, right? Arkansas did find a way to beat a good A&M team, not a great A&M team, not as good as projected coming in, but still a worthy team that just beat Kentucky before Arkansas defeated A&M, and it was on a bit of a roll. So, you can't completely close the door, but I'll tell you, Josh, I think this is getting close. If Arkansas scratches out 0-2 this week, doesn't find a way to at least split this road game at Ole Miss, and then Kentucky on Saturday at home, we're then after that looking at every single game from the rest of from then that point on is must win. Every game for the remainder of your schedule. 11 games to go, and you've got to win them all. I don't see a path for Arkansas to make a fourth consecutive NCAA tournament without a major turnaround. And when I keep talking about lack of effort, lack of buy-in, and it's throughout the roster, I don't see how Musselman can flip a switch and get that corrected in time for Arkansas to start really stacking up meaningful wins.
I think it's interesting that you focused on the lack of effort because you didn't have to go far to hear that in the post-game press conferences, like you mentioned. Musselman said it, and even Jeremiah Davenport, who was the only player that spoke, he said it repeatedly over and over again. And at one point, somebody said, "Where does this lack of effort come from?" And he says, I just don't know. And it was kind of an interesting overarching kind of look at the entire season. You also mentioned the ISO ball that Arkansas played. I was down on the court filming, and at one point, a South Carolina player, he's inbounding the ball to go down the court. He looks at his teammate right in front of me, and he goes, "This is easy, man. This is just ISO ball." Talking about defending Arkansas, and that's what it came down to because Arkansas and South Carolina were kind of the opposite of each other. South Carolina's sharing the ball. The ball's moving without it touching the floor. On the flip side, Arkansas only 9 assists on 23 made field goals, and it's ISO ball. It's coming down, backing in, and it just was an unfortunate look offensively for Arkansas, an unfortunate look defensively. And we talked a little bit before coming on. On the inside, it was really tough. Out-rebounded 39-27. What did you see physicality-wise from South Carolina coming in on offense and on defense and really dominating Arkansas from start to finish?
Well, these opponents understand how to put pressure on the rim and how to attack. And a lot of the teams Arkansas has played have been outstanding offensive rebounding teams to begin with. And Arkansas just doesn't have that mentality, let alone the kind of instinctual play from guys. I mean, Mekhi Mitchell of the Twins that departed was the less physical of those two. I'm not saying Arkansas would be better off with Mikal, but you don't know. Even if that would make a little bit of a difference. I'm not trying to just pick on certain guys. We're talking about interior play. Jalen Graham is a light rebounder. He's really a finesse offensive player. And he's also an ISO ball kind of offensive player. You got to give him the ball. He's got to pound the rock and figure out which direction he wants to spin. And then Trevor Brazile has shown that he's more of a face-up perimeter type of guy. He's having in my opinion, you're a preseason first-team All-SEC pick. Devo Davis, second team. And both of those guys have way underperformed relative to expectations that go along with that. And what these guys are capable of doing, because we've seen them perform at Arkansas, even though it was a small sample size last season from Brazile, he's way underperforming his numbers even through 8 games. Against good non-conference competition, by the way. That wasn't just a patsy schedule before he got hurt before SEC play. So I think when you go back to interior, Arkansas just doesn't have the kind of players that have that tough guy mentality around the basket. And then that lack of effort, man, that shows up everywhere. The turnover game where Arkansas is very anemic. The glass, 50-50 ball, running those down. You see over and over where there's ball up for grabs, and Arkansas loses those battles, guys. And so I think it permeates. When you go on the offensive end and you're playing ISO ball and hand it to one guy and everybody's kind of flat-footed watching, it becomes, it almost becomes contagious, that flat-footedness and that not locked in, and you're not working as a unit. You're basically what the South Carolinas were playing within your earshot. Man, this makes it, because you're playing right into the hands of any competent defense, let alone an average defense that you help bail out by playing that way. The ball's got to move, and we saw South Carolina put on a clinic. And look, the Gamecocks, a good team, not a juggernaut. The Gamecocks were playing chess, 3D chess or something. Arkansas's over there still playing checkers. You're not going to win basketball games in this league being so one-dimensional in offense and not having. And again, we can talk about all the little minutiae. I just see a grand lack of effort. And I'll tell you, that starts from the top. It's not just all on the players. It starts from the top down. And this is very uncharacteristic of Eric Musselman teams. And he's continued to also say in a lot of the preview press conferences, when asked about it, their practices bouncing back from bad losses have been great. Couldn't ask for more. That's a head scratcher to me. I don't see that. Sounds like a positive, but I just don't see how it is when we see how it translates to the floor. That tells me that something's wrong in practice too, because if that's what your vision is and that's what you're seeing, then we'll have that application to the court when the games, when it counts, when eyes are on it and it's going to go, it counts towards your resume. Practice doesn't. Something's wrong there. So to me, it's top down. And Eric Musselman's a guy, a coach that's been outstanding in getting things corrected in Arkansas, making strong pushes in March. They haven't been great necessarily in league play. Last year, a 10th place finish, still got to the Sweet 16. The previous 2 years, Arkansas finished second and fourth. So there has been a decline. But postseasons where but they make sure the resume is strong enough and they've done damage there. I think, again, too soon technically to say put a fork in them, they're done. But I don't see the pieces to build from right now because of that grand lack of effort. I just don't, that may seem unfair and maybe overstepping a bit. I just don't know about that, Josh. Too many of these games, it looks like Arkansas is, not dialed in, and that effort is greatly lacking. Not just one or two guys, but kind of across the board.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting point because obviously you can't fully forecast how this season comes to an end, but there's not a lot of signs this is going to turn around, right? In the past, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Maybe there was some dysfunction that was causing early losses, early swoons in SEC play, but the signs, hey, there's a lot of offensive talent here, the effort's here, the defensive effort is here, was there, maybe not so much with this team. But if you're playing absolute optimist, there's quad one opportunities left on this schedule. That's the benefit, I guess, of the SEC being really deep. What is the picture? What has to happen if Arkansas is going to make a run and somehow turn this thing around?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I did kind of touch on a little bit. I think at this point, you're getting close to must win every night. And I think two quad one win opportunities this week. Ironically, Ole Miss is in a bit, started 2-3 in league play after going, running unbeaten through non-conference. Ole Miss right now 70th in net. They need to be top 75. If Arkansas ranked in the, getting close to 120 in net, goes on the road and beats Ole Miss at home, Ole Miss is probably liable to slide outside of top 75 ranking in the next day. And now it's a quad, Arkansas's second quad two win of the season. So you got to hope Ole Miss, you win on the road, and then they finish when it really matters at the end of the year in the top 75 net. Kentucky is a quad one win opportunity at home. Got to be top 30 for that. Kentucky's there. So you've got to do that. So to me, you either need to minimum split these games. I think in 0-2, even though technically you can't say there's no path for an at-large bid, you'd pretty much every game after that's must win. And when you're 11 games, you've still got a third of your season to go, and every game's must win. It means you're in a world of trouble, Josh. So I do think Arkansas at minimum needs to split these games. I think the most likely outcome based on the way Arkansas is playing is 0-2. I think the next possibility, maybe better, maybe 1-1 is a stronger possibility than 0-2. It's certainly better than 2-0. I don't see a path for 2-0, but if Arkansas is able to do that, great. That really helps Arkansas. If Arkansas could sweep these games and add a couple of quad one wins there and get, now the record doesn't look great, 12-8. But now you're 3-4 in league play, and we know from there might be a path. You're going to have additional quad one win opportunities coming up, likely against teams like Mississippi State on the road, obviously Kentucky again on the road, Alabama on the road, Tennessee at home on February 14th. There's plenty of quad one out there, but right now Arkansas's just got to figure out a way to win. They've just got to figure out how to win games, and they're going to have plenty of games against round robins against LSU, Missouri, teams that don't bring a lot of value in terms of building quad strength. But at this point, you're trying to survive and just pick up wins and not have a further drop in your net. You've got to find then quad one wins around that to start strengthening your net and your resume. So, I mean, a lot of word salad there to say it's bleak for Arkansas. And because of what I'm seeing on the court, I'm not seeing the materials that Musselman's been able to rearrange and get that winning formula that like he's done in years past when this has happened. I'm not seeing that.
Not a lot of reasons to be positive right now, and another tough week coming up with ranked opponents and Ole Miss and Kentucky on the docket. Anything else you want to hit before we go, Kevin?
Not really. I do think I want to get back to college game day coming in. Whether Arkansas wins at Ole Miss or not, that's going to be a huge opportunity. It's Kentucky. It's a highly regarded, highly ranked Kentucky team, and you're going to have college game day there. Even if Arkansas loses midweek, maybe there's a spark. Maybe it has that kind of energy like the Duke game. It's a blue blood on that level. So maybe there's a little bit of advantage there to help Arkansas. Maybe not. But if anything else, even if I would say hold on a little bit to the fan base and everybody, even beyond Ole Miss, regardless win or lose there for that Kentucky matchup, and let's see if Arkansas is able to pick up a quad one win and then start getting some belief. I hate to go back and bring up Purdue at this point, but it wasn't just Duke, and we know that game didn't count. But man, that's a loaded team, arguably the best team in the country, and Arkansas found a way there. So to say that their individual pieces aren't there and the individual talent's not there, that's one conversation. But it's the other stuff between the ears that's leading to this lack of effort, lack of true belief and buy-in, and guys coming together as a team and playing together, a strong brand. Man, they're miles and miles away from that, Josh. But keep an eye on that Kentucky matchup. It's college game day. Obviously, you got to take care of business one way or another. You're going to win or lose against Ole Miss. But I'm still looking at Kentucky as either being maybe the death knell, perhaps, or maybe a flicker of hope. So, I want to encourage everyone to leave the door at least cracked for now. I'm not ready to put the fork in them. I don't think they're done quite, not quite yet. Well, we're getting close.
We'll say it's not quite do or die yet for the Hogs, but after this week, it might be. That'll do it for the Hog Hoops Report. Kevin, thanks so much. Much more Pig Trail Show coming up after the break.